Welcome to our podcast, Disability Warriors, The Download, powered by Liner Legal, your disability warriors, fighting for dignity, justice, and the benefits that you deserve. Each episode, we bring you powerful stories, real legal insight, and everything you need to feel informed, supported, and never alone. Whether you are navigating the complex disability process yourself, supporting a loved one, or just want to understand the system a little better, you're in the right place. Make sure to hit follow now so you never miss an episode. And if you're ready to take the next step, head to our website at linerlegal.com to schedule your free case review.
Because your voice matters.
Your fight matters.
And we're with you every step of the way. Let's dive in. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Disability Download. We have a special holiday, wintry version coming up for you. With an excellent guest, somebody who I'm so excited to have here, Jordan Lebovitz, who's a partner at one of probably the top personal injury law firm in Ohio, and somebody who also is a good friend of mine. But with the winter coming up, it's an especially busy time for injury attorneys, and we thought we'd get him in here to tell us about all those slip and falls and low speed but high impact car crashes that I know you're seeing out there in the world, Jordan.
There's a lot of action right now, my friend. Thank you for having me, first of all.
Dude, it is such a pleasure. It's such a pleasure. Anytime I get to spend time with you is truly a treat. In fact, now feels like a wonderful time for me. So Jordan, around the holidays, he sends me, it's always delivered by a fancy courier service.
Thank you.
To my house. He sends me a nice gift. Now, here's the brilliance of self-promotion. He found a vineyard that must be called Jordan Vineyards or something.
Yeah.
And he sends me a bottle of wine that says Jordan on it. You send me some fancy chocolates too.
Those are pretty good, by the way, right?
I wanted to get you a little something this year, Jordan.
Uh-oh.
And to remind you who I am, I got you every flavor of Mike's Hard that I could find at the gas station at the corner by my house. And because I can't be outdone by your taste in candy, Jordan, and I wanted to remind you how nice I am, I got you a Kind bar.
Kind bar.
I got you a Kind bar too. It's healthy, it's thoughtful, it's fruity.
I don't even know what to say. I mean, I get you Cabernet Sauvignon, but you really outdid me with the Mike's Hard Lemonade. This is the Michael Liner Lemonade right here.
I would estimate the value of your gift to me every year, $150, I don't know, $6.99 for all of it.
Honestly, but I get variety with yours.
Right.
Okay. You only get one bottle with me, but this is variety.
I wanted to make sure that I gave you the holiday gift that you would never forget. And I don't think you'll remember the time that Michael Liner gave you 3 cans. I mean, this is a good night right here.
This is a really good night. Yeah. I know.
Yeah.
Wow. I can't wait to get home and drink all 3 of these and then finish it off with the Kind bar.
There you go, baby.
I'm thrilled.
Wash it down. Wash it down.
Wow. We got to have a little health in with the,
I know, yeah. But it's delicious health.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome, Jordan.
Wow.
Welcome.
Do you want to have one right now?
Can we? I'll do it with you.
Yeah, I think so.
Now, one thing that people might not know about you and I is that even though you're a couple years younger, we both went to college at the same time.
We sure did.
University of Michigan. Ooh, look at that. I'm spilling already. I'm so excited.
Oh, wow.
And I believe that our earliest interactions
That's good.
probably were in college, probably at Scorekeepers or something like that. Drinking something that approximate, not the finer tastes that we've acquired.
No, definitely not as fine as Mike's Hard. It was definitely it was the lowest shelf. And now we've gone to, we're getting up there. I'm proud of us.
I don't think I've ever actually told you this before, but I do remember the first time I ever met you, it was during Rush.
Okay.
You came to, I was in API and I was on the Rush committee, and I think you came to something. I don't know if you joined a different fraternity. You were in ZBT, right?
I was in Delta Sig.
You were Delta Sig.
Well,
you know that I lived with all Deltas. I thought they were already gone by then. Every roommate I had my senior year when I would have met you was in Delta Sig.
We were eventually eliminated from
they had already been removed from having a house. It was more of a social club.
Yeah, it was fun,
You
social
it
club,
was a great
for
social
sure,
club.
yeah. Good group
But
of fellas.
you were, rushing a pie with Mitch Gecht,
Yes,
who's another esteemed Cleveland
that's
attorney,
right.
also lives, in the same development that we were talking about earlier, because
Look at that.
everything in the world comes back to Orange Tree.
It's true, it's true.
Um, did you know that he lived there,
I
by the way?
did, yeah.
Should we give out his address
Right?
on the air
I think we should give it
and his phone
Do you have
number?
his social too?
I do.
Oh, okay, it's in the other bag.
It's in the bag.
Oh, good.
This bag is full of fun tricks, but no, that's when I literally remember meeting you. You were probably 18 years old at the time,
I was
and
18.
look at how
Wow.
you turned out now.
I think pretty
Pretty good.
good.
Still
Pretty good.
still toting the mics hard,
Mike's hard.
but we'll do it.
Yeah.
Um, I'm not sure what the optics are of us sitting here drinking as we talk about winter accidents and
True.
the impact on social security disability and the injury world. Well, let me just ask you a broad question. Is it true? Do you see a spike in intake calls, accidents, injuries in your office in Ohio? Burr, it's cold outside. Thought you'd like that.
That was pretty good.
That was nice.
That was nice. It was a good touch.
In the winter months.
No question about it. I mean,
Yeah.
we have a, I don't want to say tenfold increase, but there's a significant increase in volume of winter-related accidents and incidents, right? And it doesn't just mean ice and snow directly. There's a lot of other related items that come with that. And, there's things that because of the ice and snow, there's things that people do, especially that first snowfall, that they really shouldn't be
Which we
doing.
just had, by the way.
We did. We
So I
did.
imagine it's been a good week.
We're getting a lot of
Terms of
calls, man.
repairs.
We're getting a lot of calls. And it's a lot of calls that, frankly, we're happy that folks are not,
Yeah.
suffering as much as they can. Obviously, we don't like getting calls like that, but there's some bad things happening out there, especially that big first snow.
Are there specific warnings that you give to people to avoid accidents in the winter months?
Absolutely. So, I mean, when it comes to, let's talk about motor vehicle travel in particular. So, when you're driving on a highway in particular, I would never pass a commercial motor vehicle, semi truck, box truck, etc., on the right.
Oh shoot, that's my
Never.
move, man.
Don't pass on the
That's
right.
my move.
Don't pass on the right. It's
Okay.
not safe. It's the least conspicuous, the least visible part of their side mirrors, right? Unless they have some advanced warning systems and activation lights that tell them, the driver, that someone's on the right, they have a hard time seeing that. And then there's buildup of ice and snow and
Yeah.
dirt. It's really hard.
I also want to give Jordan a quick opportunity to plug himself here
Wow.
because he's too modest and by the way, you are the best dressed guest that we've ever had on this. Normally, I'm the best dressed person on this show.
I'm so sorry for
It's
doing
usually
it to
someone
you.
like Andrew sitting in that chair, so it's not that hard
Well,
to outdo his style.
it's just the uniform, man. It's easy.
I think you sleep in that suit, man.
I do. I know.
I think you do. But in addition to being an injury attorney, Jordan, and this is I remember this is one of the first things that made me think, wow, like he gets it. He does things different. You went and got certified, is that what you'd call it?
Yeah.
As a truck driver.
Yes. So I have a Class A CDL,
Yeah.
and I was very, very fortunate to go to night school at Tri-C in their transportation program. Fascinating.
What was that like, by the way, being in that? I mean, you were just in class with people that was going to be their career.
Absolutely. And they knew, I mean, they knew what I was doing there, that I was learning. I want to put my shoes or my feet into their shoes
Yeah.
because there's one thing to say like, I don't like broccoli, right? But there's a difference between saying that if you've never tried it, right? So how am I going to be judging or looking at someone's actions on the road of a commercial motor vehicle operator in one of their maneuvers doing something if I've never actually sat in their shoes? It's a little disingenuous. And so now I can say I have sat in your shoes. I know what it's like to look and what the visibility is from the driver's seat of a commercial vehicle versus someone who's really never sat there. Can't really tell.
How has that informed your work over the years? Just the time that you spend getting that license, learning. I mean, I remember. And how long has it been now? This was even pre-COVID.
It's more than 8 years.
Yeah. Okay. So I remember when you were going through these classes, and maybe I've made this up in my head, but I remember you saying something to me like, "This is like as hard as the bar exam. Like this is a serious test."
There's no question. No, it's really hard. I mean, the maneuverability test alone is incredibly challenging.
Yeah.
It's you're parallel parking a semi-tractor trailer, right? It's really hard. I remember doing it in the winter as well, which made it even 10 times harder.
Yeah.
It's It's not easy. It makes me, frankly, have a lot more empathy for the truck drivers who are out there on the road. They've got a very, very tough gig, okay? So it makes me realize there's a lot of good truck drivers out there, and the job is to prevent the bad truck drivers from being able to continue operating on the roadways and making the roads dangerous, right? We need truckers. We need
Yeah.
that. It's the bad apples that make it, more dangerous for our clients.
Wow. Um, and so, okay, I want to get back to the winter stuff.
Sure.
So don't pass commercial vehicles on the right side. If you're going to
Correct.
pass them on the left.
Yeah, and just remember in ice and snow particular, if it's hard packed snow, the rules require that semi-tractor trailers, operators of a vehicle weighing more than 26,001 pounds, they have to reduce their speed by half, meaning that instead of going 70, if they're on the highway, right, they should be going 35. But oftentimes that's not the case.
Yeah.
And the reason they have to do that, right, is because it's dangerous when you're hauling upwards of 80,000 pounds, you're traveling on ice or snow. The stopping distance is just so much longer that it makes it more dangerous, right? So they should be going slower, but they don't always do that. And this, it's a challenge.
In the winter, do you see different types of accidents that you see at other times? I mean, your first example has to do with these large commercial vehicles.
Yeah.
Do you see more accidents involving semi trucks or, other large road animals in
That's pretty
winter
good.
than you do at other times of the year?
No question. I mean, January, February is crazy for commercial vehicle traffic crashes. And the reason is because there's truck drivers that are less experienced, that it's their first winter, as an example, right? They just got their Class A CDL or Class B, and it's their first time out, or they're experienced and they're forgetting as they go from city to city, county to county, state to state, the weather is changing, right? They should be getting information in real time from their dispatch and online on their phones, giving them alerts. Hey, you've got ice and snow coming up. You got to slow down. Like if it's ice, for example, on the ground, a truck driver should know you're supposed to slow to a crawl and try to find a way to stop. You shouldn't be going at all,
Right.
right?
And are there, I mean, I started out by asking about the tips that you give
Yeah.
the drivers, the people who are calling you, but is there some sort of effort that's made to warn truck drivers about the
Absolutely.
dangers?
Absolutely. And truck driver, I mean, they know from their training, right? Just like I was taught when I was being trained.
Yeah.
But they know, and there's other mechanisms in place. Like I said, like dispatch, right? Dispatchers can and should be telling their drivers, hey, we got you on this route going from part A to part B, dropping off a load at a terminal. We know that there's snow in this particular part of that route. Be careful for it, right?
Yeah.
They should be doing that. You got all these electronic systems in the vehicles. Like there's ways to warn people of what's coming.
Yeah.
And that's what they should be doing.
Another question similar on a winter topic. So, just earlier today, I was having lunch at a restaurant, and when I was walking out, it was the sidewalk in front of the restaurant hadn't been.
Yeah.
Why are you laughing?
I know where you're going.
Funny, Jordan.
Are you okay? Did you slip?
This was not me. I was
Okay.
not the one who slipped.
Okay.
These boots that I'm wearing right now, they grip. Yeah, these are grip boots.
Those are pretty
They
nice.
grip the ground. They're very nice.
Yeah.
They grip the ground so that I stay. It takes special boots to hold a man this large, but the person didn't fall all the way to the ground, but I did see somebody stumble a bit, and it got me thinking. If I'm walking out of a restaurant and there was a slip and fall, who's at fault for that? Do you sue the restaurant? I mean, is there a claim? Is it just you're supposed to accept that it's the winter? And how does that work?
First of all, amazing question. And most people naturally think if I get hurt on someone else's property, that it is the property owner's fault. Now, in Ohio, like many other states, we have a rule regarding the natural versus unnatural accumulation of ice and snow. And so, especially in the winter months when it's icy and snowy, if it's a natural accumulation of ice and snow, meaning that you should have expected there to be ice and snow in a particular area because that's where ice and snow go. They land. It lands from the sky. It falls down onto the ground, right? That is not the responsibility necessarily of the property owner. There's a difference, though, when it's unnatural. An example of an unnatural accumulation of ice and snow is when above that awning, right? If there was an awning, if there's a downspout that is pointed inward and it should be pointing out towards the grass or away from the landing, that could be an unnatural accumulation, because what's the point of having an awning if you're directing water that freezes directly onto the path of travel? Why would you put an awning there?
Right.
So people, when they see an awning, they think, oh, this should be clear. I should be good. but not necessarily so, right?
Oh, yeah.
That's the big difference that you got to look for. And we see that all the time. We see places where there's big awnings and there's big coverings that are designed to protect the ground from being dangerous, but then there's failure to maintain the downspouts or failure to maintain the awning or the item itself. And then you got all this bad water coming in, freezing over, and then it's black ice. You don't know what's coming.
What are the expectations? What is the responsibility? What is a reasonable amount of care that if I'm that restaurant owner or I, own a shopping center, it's winter, it's snowing, it's raining. Unless I'm supposed to be sitting out there salting 24/7, it's impossible to get rid of this danger. So where does it go from reasonable to unreasonable, the care that was given by that owner?
God, I can't believe that I'm about to give the worst lawyer answer on this podcast, which is
I don't know.
it depends.
Ooh.
It depends. I mean, it really does. These facts and circumstances make
You
a
can
difference.
leave. Let's get Jeff Heller
Let's
in
get her
here.
in here. Come on, come
Let's
on,
get a
come
real
on in.
injury
Oh,
lawyer in
like
here.
I know. I'm gonna have to consult with my notes really quickly.
Yeah.
It really does though, because it depends on how long the problem was sitting there, right? It depends on did they make any effort, or in some circumstances, the business owner may have created the hazard, right?
Mhm.
They thought they were doing the right thing by taking a hose and spraying down some snow to get the snow out, where they took it from a snowy condition
To an icy
to an icy
condition.
condition. And we've seen that before, okay? And that's where the it depends and circumstances come into play. Every case is different, right?
So when it comes to damages in an injury case, obviously we're talking about a winter thing, but educate me because believe it or not, we've over the years probably shot 100 episodes of this
Sure.
podcast. I don't think we've ever really dove into injury law. It's related but different from what I do. Um, how do you calculate what the value of an injury is? So,
Yeah.
is it the type of body part? Is it how does that work?
So there's no formula for at least half of the injury law components. So essentially, when someone gets injured due to no fault of their own, there's three different buckets of potential damages, generally speaking. There's economic, non-economic, and then off to the side is punitive, which we can talk about in a minute. Economic damages, there's a formula. It's lost wages, your medical bills, any future wage impairment. That is calculated, and there's a formula for economic damages. We bring in economists or other experts to talk about that. Future medical needs is a good example there, right? What's called a life care plan.
Yeah.
That's in that first category. That's a little easier to determine. Non-economic damages is what people generally call pain and suffering. It's
Okay.
what is the value of me not being able to do my activities of daily living or enjoy my life the way I wanted to. What is that worth? And in Ohio, there's unfortunately, for some circumstances, a cap on those non-economic damages as arbitrarily determined by legislators down in Columbus many, many years, about 20 years ago, right? There's those caps on non-economic pain and suffering damages unless you meet some subset of categories where your injuries are catastrophic in nature, where there's a permanency to them. Then there's no cap and it's unlimited, right? But your
Okay.
question is, how do you determine that? It's up to a jury. It's up to a jury. We have obviously many different examples, but
So if a CEO of a company suffered the same injury as your entry level minimum wage worker,
yeah.
is it the same injury? Is it always going to be the case that the CEO is going to be their case is going to be worth more than the person who was a minimum wage worker?
On the economic damage side, yes.
Okay.
Right? On the non-economic damage side, not necessarily, no. Because those damages, again, that's in the eye of the beholder, right? It's in the jury, the 8 strangers on a jury who's going to decide what was taken from that person. And again, what was taken from one person, even if they were a low wage earner, may be significantly more in non-economic damages than it would be for the high wage earner. But if the high wage earner is making X number of dollars a year versus Y, and he's out of work or she's out of work for, a year or two, there's going to be more economic damages there.
We didn't really get to the punitive piece.
Yeah, punitive
You
damages.
set it aside. I feel like
did.
there was a reason you said it.
Well, it's because punitive damages are exemplary damages. It's damages that come when the actions were so willful, wanton, and reckless,
Yeah.
right? If the actions by the defendant, meaning the person who's at fault for causing the person to suffer harm, was so reckless, right? In reckless abandon, where it was just essentially just below the level of intent, or how bad the conduct was. An example would be someone who goes to the bar and has 12 shots of Johnny Black and then gets behind the wheel. That's reckless,
Right.
right? And it's also a crime. That's when punitive damages can come into play, right?
And correct me if I'm wrong, punitive damages, they're not intended to compensate the individual for what happened to them. It's meant to punish.
Correct.
Okay. And are there caps on punitive damages the same way that there's caps on,
There are.
okay.
There
How does that work?
It's arbitrarily set, again, based upon the size of the business or the enterprise that you're suing, right? Again, we could spend all day talking about my disagreement with the punitive damage caps or non-economic damage caps. I think it should be in a free market. I think that it should be up to the citizens of the market and the community that you live in to make a decision. And if that community, right, we entrust based on the Seventh Amendment to have our citizens, right, whatever side of the political spectrum you're on, whatever side of the social spectrum you're on, you get into a room, you hear the evidence, not a legislator. You hear the evidence, you say what the case is worth. That's just my opinion, but,
Is there an active push to change or remove these damage caps?
always, and there should be, because they're arbitrarily set. It should be up to the people. The way that, our country was created and our state was founded is on a idea that juries, the people who actually hear the evidence, are in the best position to make a decision on the damages, because they're the ones who actually got to meet the witnesses, right? There's a difference between reading about what someone's like on a piece of paper versus seeing them out loud. That's what we talk about, like client service, and what makes I know your firm and my firm different than many others. We treat people like people. They're not numbers on a spreadsheet. They're human beings that have a life, and you want to be able to tell the story about what someone's life was like before their accident or before the incident that brought them there, and now what it's like now. That's what telling a story is about a human, instead of just like
Yeah.
a number on a spreadsheet.
I love the way that you said that. I mean, um, we always think in our office, a big part of what we're doing is we're really trying to restore dignity
Yeah,
to our clients.
I love that.
And it often comes out in different times. Every person's story is unique and different from everybody else's. I'm sure in your practice, sometimes there's cases that you take on where the person, they haven't lost their dignity, they've lost their paycheck.
Yeah.
And so it's about helping to fix that. We try and meet them where they're at, but remembering why we do it, which is to give them a piece of themselves back that they lost, that really motivates us to keep doing our work every day. I know it motivates you too.
It does, and I love that. I mean, that we get to live in a society where we want and we get, like you and I, to take care of people who were harmed due to no fault of their own necessarily, and who are, frankly, in a position where you wanna give them not their first, but maybe their second best life that they can.
Right.
Right?
Right.
That's the goal.
I love that. Um, so tell me a little bit about, I know that you're involved with the Ronald McDonald House?
Yes. So, and our firm is sponsored and been a supporter of the Ronald McDonald House for a long time. We are always thrilled to be able to both financially, and physically participate in any way that we can.
And what is it that you guys do at is it just contributing money, or what does the Ronald McDonald House do in terms of their impact in the community?
Obviously, for the most part, the way that we can help the Ronald McDonald House the most is by making donations,
Right.
right, and charitable contributions. We like to support them just like we do many, many other charitable organizations and other organizations throughout Northeast and the entire state of Ohio that help people, right? We're people first at our firm, just like I know you
Yeah.
are. I mean, Ronald McDonald House does so much for the community, especially for the family members of people who are suffering. And that's why for us it's so important, because when we go back and talk about, non-economic damages, pain and suffering. It's so hard for the family members who are dealing with a family member who is hurt. It's an immense tragedy.
Yeah. And we wanna get involved with your support, and I know that you guys are very charitable to them in particular, and so Liner Legal, is gonna partner a team with you guys to make a donation to the Ronald McDonald House to help those families. It's so important, especially in a medical community like
Yeah.
Cleveland. where people come here from all over the world. They don't necessarily have a place to stay or the finances to provide for themselves while they've
Right.
got a loved one receiving care. So if we can help make that, process a little bit smoother for people and more comfortable, we're excited to do that. And I really commend your firm for, it's not just the Ronald McDonald House. That's just one of the places that
Yeah.
you guys are active. But I was excited to learn about your participation and that we could get involved as well. So I wanted to let you know that we're going to be contributing to the Ronald McDonald House
We
as
are
well.
thrilled. I mean, to do this as a joint venture together, I think is wonderful. And yeah, obviously for an incredible cause, just like all the other charitable contributions that you make and we make. It's awesome.
Yeah. Um, Jordan, give us some final words, man. I mean, I think that it would be a great thing to kind of circle back to where we started,
Yeah.
give people who are watching this some ideas of how they can stay safe and avoid calling you or me, because at the end of the day, so much of what we do, we help people when bad things happen, but
Right.
we're also fierce advocates to keep people from needing to call us.
The goal would be that someone does not need to call us and that they are doing fine, both physically, financially, and most importantly with their health, right? Physical and mental health. But at the end of the day, you've got to be vigilant, right? During the winter months, when it's snowy, when it's icy out, you have to take extra care and you have to be vigilant. So I would tell people, remember, for those commuting home at night, it's starting to get dark earlier and earlier and earlier. So be careful for that, right? Watch out when you're getting in and out of the car and going into and out of businesses, okay? Because you never know what to expect. That being said, you got to make sure, always keep your eyes out there and make sure to stay safe.
Absolutely. And I'm just so grateful that you are giving of your time, that you tied your tie all the way for us.
I did. Yeah, no, I,
Jor-
I just had learned how to tie it this morning. How's it look?
No way. No way.
Yeah, not
You're
bad for my first tie.
not bad at all. Not bad at all. But happy holidays to you, Jordan,
You too, my friend.
to your family. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
We'll end with a sip of our
Cheers.
Mike's Hard.
Just a sip.
There we go. Just a sip because we got to drive home.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you and happy holidays.
Thanks, Michael.
Thanks for tuning in to Disability Warriors, the download. If today's episode inspired you, educated you, or gave you hope, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who needs it. Need help with your disability claim? Visit linerlegal.com today to schedule your free consultation. Stay connected with us on social media for more stories, insights, and victories from the disability community. Until next time, stay strong, stay empowered, and remember, you are not in this alone.
Because your voice matters.
Your fight matters.
And we're with you every step of the way.